Hello humans, I'm Yoshiller, and I've been very fortunate to experience so many fun and eventful opportunities in my life. I try to put myself out there in the world in an effort to pursue things that most people can't or won't pursue. My life has changed so much over the course of my career, and I'm so grateful that I've met so many amazing and talented people and that I've been able to engage in so many unique projects. And even though things haven't always been positive or smooth, I ultimately can move forward knowing that I've lived a memorable and noteworthy life thus far. And that got me thinking, how do I foresee the next chapter of my life going? Or, to be more specific, where do I see myself in the next 5 years? This is the type of question that teachers usually ask their students in middle school or high school, and usually the answers are pretty small and generic. But as I enter the year of 2025, I figured that this was a relevant topic. For as unpredictable as the future can be, especially with my chaotic lifestyle, I generally prefer to have some sort of roadmap, if I can. And this type of question may come easy for some, but for me, I believe the answer may be a bit more complex. See, there's what I want to happen in the next 5 years, but I believe the better way to go about answering a question of this nature would be to strategically map out a reasonable path of what I honestly believe could happen in the next 5 years, and ideally what will happen in the next 5 years. To preface it all, it's my dream to one day work for Nintendo and develop or promote a game while under their management. I'd love to work alongside the same people that inspired me. Do I think that can all happen within the next 5 years? Well, it'd be awesome to accomplish my goal in this time frame, and there could be a possibility, albeit a very, very small one. But in that case, even if there is a chance, what's the more probable outcome that could help me achieve my goals later down the line? That's my roadmap, and that's what I intend to analyze and explore today. Plus, I think that's the more interesting perspective for a video such as this anyway, rather than just saying, hopefully I'm at Nintendo in 5 years, and if not, hopefully I'm still making videos, and hopefully my life is still at least somewhat organized. Let's really dive into the subject. So, in order to predict and plan for the next 5 years of my life, I think it'd be wise to review and evaluate the past 5 years of my life and see if any lessons can be learned. After all, my life has changed a ton during that time, and I'm not certain that I would have ever guessed that this is where I'd end up in 2025, for better or for worse. Let's wind the clock back to the beginning of 2020. Would the younger version of me from that year be proud of where the current version of me is now? Perhaps proud isn't the best word to use here, as the answer would most likely be no. See, I'm pretty critical of myself. As I continue to grow and further my career, I become more dissatisfied with my older work. I imagine other creators are similar, as that's just the nature of being an artist striving for glory. Still, I think the younger version of me would express disappointment if he saw the current version of me. He'd probably freak out and say, "What do you mean there was a pandemic that shut down the world? You stopped being a full-time video editor for The Completionist? And you stopped competing in Super Smash Bros. And Pokemon? E3's not around anymore? You're not really doing conventions as much at all anymore? You still haven't reached 100,000 subscribers? Wait, you made a second channel? With a blue Yoshi hat? What? And you moved out of California? Oh, you moved to Seattle, Washington. Surely that's because you finally got the job at Nintendo of America, right? No? What? Then what are you doing in Seattle? A retail job? You developed health problems? How many emergency room visits? What happened? Now, to be clear, I am comfortable with my current living situation, and I don't think less of retail employees. I actually quite enjoy being one. Sure, it's not how I wish that things would have played out, but I also acknowledge that despite all the havoc that ensued in the past 5 years, I'm very lucky to be in my current position. I happen to have a day-to-day job that I enjoy, even if it is a retail job. I have my own little studio apartment where I can still create videos regularly, and I maintain a relatively busy schedule. Which is a good thing. I've got great friends and a loving family, and I know that things could have played out a whole lot worse. So, given the circumstances, I think that things turned out okay for me. Perhaps not the best, but okay. So, I would reply to my younger self by stating, hey, in those 5 years, you went to Japan 4 times, including going just at the beginning of 2020, just before everything shut down. And you went twice in 1 year. Each of your Japan visits will be highlights of your career as you experience moments that others can only dream of. You got to meet and work with a variety of significant people from the gaming industry, and your name even appears in the credits of an award-winning indie game. You moved out and got your own place. You may have moved out of California, but you live in a beautiful part of Washington and a safe part of town. And you're doing good work. People seem to appreciate you at your retail job, and you still get to edit videos for plenty of noteworthy clients. So your portfolio is only getting better and better. Yes, you sadly did develop a number of health problems, but your retail job provides insurance that's been covering it, and that's why you work that retail job. But you still get to go home every day and do what you love. Play video games, hang out with your friends, and create videos. And you still will get to do a lot of cool stuff. And though you may not know how close you are to reaching your goals one day, you can still take satisfaction in knowing that you're closer to reaching them than ever before. The future will seem bleak at times, and you'll make a lot of silly and outright stupid decisions, but you'll prevail through it all. And most importantly, you'll wake up each day knowing that your goals and aspirations, as far-fetched as they may be, are not out of the realm of possibility. And you have people near you that genuinely believe that you can achieve them. And all of that is what will drive you forward. And then, I don't quite know how my younger self would react to that little speech. Admittedly, he'd be confused and naive, but he'd also likely just maintain a sense of positivity and keep pushing forward. Hey, I know I would. In any case, there's no way that I would have ever predicted the last 5 years with 100% certainty, but there are some notes that can be taken, some moments that can be observed, and some lessons that can be learned. Right out the gate, I can tell you that I didn't think this channel would exist. So, no, 5 years ago, I did not think that I'd begin wearing a blue Yoshi hat and would structure a new channel around it. But this channel was conceptualized from my urge of wanting to create different styles of videos, expand my portfolio, and repurpose all of the gameplay that I record over on my main green channel. This urge didn't quite exist in 2020, but between that year and 2024, I had edited videos for a fair share of other content creators and clients, and that's what sparked an interest in creating similar videos, but for myself instead. And in another vein, creating so many styles of videos and editing for so many different people allowed me to improve my own skills and grow my portfolio. Just as well, the landscape of YouTube, and social media as a whole, has changed so much over the years. As the interest of my viewers change, so have my own interests. I certainly still enjoy recording and creating gameplay-focused content, but the truth of the matter is that these types of videos are just not as in demand as they once were. And simple gameplay videos are not great representations of my portfolio and the work that I'm capable of creating. So I've experimented with presenting videos in other formats, and I've found that long play full session styles suit me better than the let's play daily segmented style. Even so, I'll keep playing games regardless, and I figured that I may as well record everything that I do anyway, which is a habit that I developed from my time working for the Completionist. But I've also sometimes had to record additional footage for other clients too, and so it makes sense to hang on to that footage in case I ever need it for any other videos. And it was these thoughts and habits that led to the development of this new Blue channel. And so I figured that this year, 2025, would now be the proper time to go through with this idea. And here we are. Now, as I briefly mentioned earlier, the highlights of these past 5 years were my trips to Japan. The first trip in 2020 was my first time ever visiting another country, and as a result, that was definitely a trip taken from the perspective of a tourist. However, each of the following trips, though they contained many tourist-based elements, were made with some level of business in mind, whether they be so that I could meet someone or so that I could be involved in some career-defining opportunity. And each time that I left Japan, I left with a desire to return. It was those trips that ignited, or perhaps reignited, a spark in me. I've always been passionate about the gaming industry previously, but now I knew this is what I wanted my life to be. I want to work alongside the greats of the gaming industry and be among others that have the ability and power to inspire people with video games. In addition to appreciating the beauty of Japan, I grew to appreciate entertainment as a whole, and I believe the value of entertainment holds a significant spot in our day-to-day lives. And I use that thought process to remind myself why I want to do what I do. I believe entertainment is important. And so I've had my life revolve around the idea of working in entertainment, specifically in the gaming industry, as that's what I know and that's what inspired me growing up. And each of my trips to Japan helped to cement those views. Now, the pandemic definitely screwed things up. That was a dark and sad period for everyone, really. And I'm not going to begin to act as if my life was destroyed or anything like that. Still, it was an uncomfortable time all around, and as far as furthering my career was concerned, the biggest change to impact my growth was the closure of in-person events. For some events, such as PAX, or basically anything in Japan, those were only temporary closures. But in other cases, namely E3, those were permanently closed. And so the effects of the pandemic still linger on in this regard. Having events be closed definitely damaged my career, as these events, especially E3, changed my life. They were exciting times of the year where I could meet new people, network with companies, promote my work, and have fun playing new games and competing. And I might even have the opportunity to meet some of the people that inspired me. And now those were all gone. The ability to work directly with these companies, the opportunities to meet specific people, the ability to play these games and compete on big screens, all gone. And on top of all that, the removal of these events on my schedule turned my calendar into an empty one. I didn't have much to look forward to, and that had some indirect effects on my mental health. Still, if the removal of events was the worst thing that the pandemic caused for me, then I should once again count myself lucky. And, of course, many events did resume once they were comfortable enough to do so. We eventually were able to reach some sense of normalcy, and once we were, I was able to participate in some career-defining opportunities again. But that gap without events had caused me to embark on an endeavor of creating daily content, sometimes 2 videos a day, as I didn't quite know what else to do with my skills or time. It was also during that period where I began editing for a dozen different clients and creators so that I could make a living, editing for one creator led to editing for another creator, which led to editing for another creator, which led to editing for another creator, which led to editing for another creator, and so on and so forth, creating a domino effect. And now I've been able to edit and collaborate alongside a lot of top tier creators. So that worked out for me at least. But I still wanted to find other ways to move forward. Editing as an on-call freelance editor helped build my portfolio and get my name around, sure, but I needed to figure out what my next step would be. What would really better my odds of getting a job at Nintendo. And eventually, I came to the realization that I needed to go somewhere. So the next logical step in my career, to me, was to try to move out. E3 no longer exists, and fewer gaming events were occurring in Southern California, so I decided that I didn't really need to live there anymore. So I chose Seattle, as I'd been to the Emerald City more than a handful of times. And this way, if Nintendo ever did want me, then I'd be ready. And I don't know when Nintendo may want me to be part of their team, and I probably could have saved more money had I stayed back with my family in California a bit longer, but the desire to push onward and the urge to further my career was too strong. What was I waiting for? Nothing. I wanted something, so I went after it. I wanted change, so I went and got it. And though there were several things that happened over these past 5 years that were beyond my control, the fact of the matter is that many of the things that did happen were due to the consequences of my actions. I chose to try new styles of content. I chose to wear a blue Yoshi hat. I chose to return to Japan. I chose to edit for a dozen clients. I chose to move out on my own. I chose to move to Seattle specifically, and I chose to adapt to this current lifestyle. And hopefully nothing bad happens in the future, but if something were to happen, then chances are I'd have nobody to blame but myself. But just as well, I'm glad that I made the choices that I did. For the most part. There are still plenty of negative things that happened over these past 5 years that I'm omitting here. But for the sake of conversation, I'm otherwise comfortable with how things played out. And the other point that I want to make was that a lot of these decisions are pretty drastic. These are not easy choices. However, I don't do things simply because they're easy. I do things to try and ensure a better outcome. Things were difficult. Things weren't always fun. And I imagine that the path ahead will be difficult and not as fun as well. There will always be new challenges and struggles. What I may want now may wind up changing in the future. And very few things will ever be easy. But I'm choosing these options. I'm making these choices. And I choose to continue along this path. The fact of the matter is that my supply of games that I wish to record and videos that I want to create will never run out. And you know, it's so cool to be able to say that. Sure, that may mean that there's no end, meaning that I'll never actually wind up playing, recording, and creating everything that I want. But at the same time, do you know how cool it is to have so many things that I want to work on? Do you know how fun it is to look forward to creating a video or playing a game every day? To create a list of all the videos that I want to make and check off each one that I make? Even if it's an endless list, it is so exciting to go home and just know what I want to make. It gives me something to look forward to each and every day. That's why I was so bummed when events such as E3 shut down. But now, I feel inspired from my Japan trips. I feel a sense of satisfaction from recording videos of old and new games, and I feel motivated each day to go home and create more videos. It's an incredible feeling, and just as I've done in the past, I'll finish one project and continue on to the next, and then the next, and then the next. However long it takes, I will get it done, and I will, one day, move on to the next project. And right now, this new blue channel is another one of those projects. And I am so lucky and so grateful that I get to do this. And so, with all of that in mind, I can now finally and properly answer the question that I proposed near the start of this video. Where do I see myself in 5 years? Well, the way I see it, there are 3 possible outcomes. Okay, obviously there are more possible outcomes since there's no certainty in the future, but I can at least outline 3 paths that align with my goals and current lifestyle. So even though there's no guarantee that any of these outcomes can or will occur, I do genuinely believe that they are, at the very least, possible. Option 1, I'm doing the same thing that I'm doing now, but it's now 2030. I'm still creating videos, I'm still working a job that isn't at Nintendo, and I'm still striving to one day secure a position at the big N. Maybe I've had 2 or 3 more unique career-defining experiences along the way, I'll have finally earned 100,000 subscribers on my main gameplay channel, and perhaps even this blue channel is thriving and magically hits 100,000 subscribers as well. But the important thing is that I'm still trying to grow, I'm still enjoying myself, and I'm still pursuing my goals. Option 2, I undergo some other significant lifestyle change, be it moving to another city for an opportunity or giving my content an overhaul again. and I still don't have a job at Nintendo, but I remain confident that I can one day achieve it. I never did finish college, so maybe I go back to school and finish getting a degree, and that would make my video production schedule even more infrequent and inconsistent than it already is. So at that point, I'd be creating videos as more of a creative outlet, which isn't too unlike what I'm doing now, but my face and appearance in the creator space becomes less known. Even right now, I'm making videos less consistently than I was 5 years ago, and that's because I have a different lifestyle that involves me working a retail job. If this timeline were to be the outcome, then I'd be making videos even less frequently than I am now. But all of this wouldn't be for bad reasons. I'd just be locked in on a new decision to aid me in my career path, and I'm still growing myself and improving my work quietly in the background. Either way, I'm still comfortable and I'm still chasing my dreams. Option 3, I actually do get the dream job at Nintendo. Yeah, I do believe there's a chance, a very, very small chance, that I actually achieve my dream in the next 5 years. Maybe I have a stroke of luck and meet the right person at the right time. Maybe my portfolio is finally sufficient enough to catch the attention of a higher up at Nintendo, and that person wants to bring me on board for a project and then hire me full-time as a video editor. Yeah, it sounds like a bit of a pipe dream, yet I do genuinely believe that this could happen one day, and possibly even in the next 5 years. I mean, the thought process behind the first two options is to ultimately get me to option 3. Option 3 is the best outcome. We want option 3. But with how much uncertainty there is in the future, and without directly knowing what challenges I must overcome in order to achieve my dreams, I don't know how probable option 3 is of truly happening, and therefore option 1 and option 2 are more likely. With that said, if option 3 ever does happen, whether it be in the next 5 years or 10 years or however long, then at that point, I get to enter the next chapter of my life and enter the path that appears from there. And on that note, none of these options are meant to be easy. Although I mentioned comfort and dreams in each one, the ideas behind each option are that they are developed based on my experiences up to this point. Though I've had a lot of fun and generated many highlights in my career so far, it hasn't always been easy. So it stands to reason that things won't be easy going forward either. In fact, I anticipate that life will become harder. But that's why I have to grow, right? That's how I have to grow. And hopefully in 5 years' time, I will have grown. Plus, even if none of these 3 options happen, that's not a bad thing either. Maybe some other great opportunity will come along that I did not see coming. Or for all I know, YouTube could go belly up next year and the world could turn against video editors. Obviously those are extreme improbabilities, but you get the idea. And if the latter does happen, I'll figure out some other way to move forward. For now though, I'll try to maintain some sense of comfort, and I'll keep working toward growing as a creator and video editor. I'll expand my portfolio, I'll take on each upcoming challenge, I'll engage in new opportunities, and I'll pursue my goals. And who knows, maybe in 2030 I can report back and provide a status update to see if any of my options were accurate. And now that it's 2025, I believe that I can make great strides over these next 5 years, and I'll do my best starting now. I'll make this year a better year. Here's to 2025 and the next 5 years. And so, we've reached the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, please click on the like button or leave a comment. Either of those actions would really help me out. And hey, in case you didn't know, I also actively post gameplay videos on my other channel, where you can see me record the footage that I used in this exact video. I play a variety of different games, and I constantly play with friends and other content creators, so there's constantly something to watch. Otherwise, thank you all again for your support, and I hope to see you all in the future.